think December of 15 started January of 2016. And so I quit selling cars. I had $6,000 saved up, and I said I have to sell one house just to live 6 more months. And my goal was to sell 15 homes that year. I think I sold my first house, I think 4.5 months into the first year. And then that whole year, I ended up selling 12 homes. I did a lot of open houses. Back in 2016, I was with Windermere, and I had the pick of the litter for any open houses that I wanted to do. So I was doing probably 3 or 4 every weekend. Did pretty bad with open houses. I think I did close to 50 or 60 open houses in my first year, and I sold 1 house from it. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I used a lot of leverage from selling cars. A lot of my past clients, when I sold them a car, I actually sold them a house. I think I did like 3 or 4 deals from that. But what's that?
It's the double whammy.
Yeah, I know. Right now I'm selling I used to sell them shoes. I sold them 2 cars. Yeah, I kid you not. And then right now they're about to buy their house. So I went from shoes, cars to a house. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. But yeah, I think like my first year, really close friends, their parents, I remember they were sitting down and we were having a beer together, and they asked me what my goal was, and I told them 15, and they essentially just laughed in my face. And they said, no, you can't do 15. You gotta do like 6 or 7. I think that's more reasonable. And I think that's what really fueled me. I was still a little upset I didn't get to 15, but 12 was pretty good. I know there's a lot of agents that are first year that have done a lot more, so that was kind of my first year.
Very cool. And it looks like this year to date, you guys have been $5.5 million in volume.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. 11.5, a little behind from last year, but
hey, growth is good, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And then next on the panel is Mr. Briddick Webb with Remax. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I got my license last week. No, in 2009, I had worked in internet marketing, and then I started working with Glenn Sanford on doing internet marketing for real estate agents. And then in 2010, they started EXP, and he said, "You have a license." So I got my license in the beginning of 2010, which, if you're unfamiliar with that market, everyone had jumped ship by that point. We had gotten down to like 650 real estate agents, down from over 1,000. And so I came out the gate. I had a goal of selling 20 houses in my first year. I sold 0. I sold 0 houses in 2010. My first closing was in January of 2011.
What was going through your head?
At the time, I was completely all in. Like, I knew at some point it would work out. But at that time, social media had become really huge. Blogging had become really huge. So when the first organization that I was with really pushed this, and so I was doing all this blogging and all this social media. And then in November of 2010, I joined Remax, joined Top Broker there, and he had me go the exact opposite direction. He had me cold calling 6 hours a day, expired and canceled listings. I was doing open houses. I was doing door knocking. So I was doing all the old school stuff that I had no understanding of or concept of. I came from an internet marketing background, and so all I thought were internet leads were the way that you generate business. And so I went the entire opposite direction, going complete old school marketing, picking up the phone, cold calling canceled and expireds, door knocking, open houses. 2011, I worked my tail off. I think I sold 8 homes. And then from year after year, I doubled and tripled. 2016 was my biggest year, and I sold 72 homes that year.
That's pretty badass. Yeah.
And so taking the first part of internet marketing and then combining it with the old school, getting face-to-face with people, building those relationships. And in a down market, the prospecting is where it's at. The marketing is, for me at least, the prospecting is free. You can always call canceled expireds, FSBOs, you can always do open houses, you can always do door knocking. And so, but also having the ability to leverage web leads, to do marketing as well, is what kind of I've built my business on.
That's awesome. And so this year to date, you've done 10.3 in volume.
And with the buyer's agents, it's 14.
14. Awesome. So 14
Get it right.
million.
Get it right.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm a numbers guy. And then we have Mike Kent in the house. Came all the way down from the Blaine area.
Which way?
There we go. So awesome. And Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the business 20 years, 11 months, and 2 weeks, so it might be a little harder for me to remember.
These numbers.
I had a corporation with my brother that I sold right before I went into real estate, and I traveled for 17 years to 50 states, every province, and decided I want to spend more time at home. So I picked up a book. The book is called What Color Is Your Parachute? I highly recommend it. I got halfway through the book. I was going to take 6 months off after selling the corporation. I took about a week and a half. I got into the book and I said, that's it. I'm showing people around from out of the area all the time anyways. And my wife said, well, why don't you sell real estate? And it just clicked, and the book pointed me in that direction. It's a book about what you should be doing with your life, what works, what doesn't work, and it pointed that way. So I became a realtor, started actually downtown with John F. Scott, then we opened up the new office down here. And I remember Lennox Scott telling us one time that we're going to be able to go to a house, take pictures, upload the pictures onto the internet before we get back to the office. We thought, sure. And the technology then, when I started, was a Palm Pilot, was like cutting edge. You don't know what that is, but Palm Pilot was a big deal. So anyways, I realized at that point, I was probably in my late 30s, early 40s. I had to make this work. Brand new career change. But I knew I loved the market, I loved people, I loved sales. So I dove in, and I figured if I got to do this 80 hours a week to make this work, then I was going to make it happen. And tenacity was my biggest tool. And to this day, I probably still do 60 to 70 hours a week without any problem, because I love the business. And in terms of how much business we do in that, I can tell you, I track it to compete with myself. But you don't have to worry about how much business you do if you apply the tools. And coincidentally, I started, like Aldo, in shoes. 100 years ago.
100 years ago. Cool. And just so you guys can see kind of a progression, there's a timeline of how long people have been in the business. And just to throw that out there, I'm a strong proponent of time in the business not mattering. I don't think it really matters. I think it matters to your clients. But then after a certain amount of time, once you provide enough value, I don't think it means anything really. But I wanted to just note something here. So if we look at the statistics, and this is not a good or bad thing, but as you look in time in the business, you can see that Aldo and Jasmine did about 65% buyers and 35% listings. And then Briddick is up closer to 75% listings. And then Mike's up at about 82% listings. So I want you guys to see that, like, buyers, we kind of discount buyers, and we see people like Mike and Briddick, taking all these listings. We're thinking, I have to focus all my time on that. But what really happens, I think what I'm taking from this is that when you focus on buyers, obviously don't stop focusing on listings, but when you focus on buyers, then eventually end up selling their house too. So that's what, and how many times, have there been any people that you've worked with that you've sold them a house, listed their house, sold another house, listed another house?
Multiple times.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
That just takes time. So, before we jump into more specific questions, you guys being able to contribute to the questions, because I want to make sure everyone gets any burning questions that we have answered. I want to set some ground rules just for this, because I want to really respect everyone's time, because everyone's got stuff going on, everyone's busy, and I really value everyone coming here and contributing to this. So, just so we know, the next one we do, we'll do a quick intro like we did this time. We're gonna kind of keep the audience, the questions from you guys just to the start, so that we can write them down and then try to hit them as we go, so we can make the best use of time. And then we'll do Q&A. If you guys have to take off at the end, take off. But we have it until 3, so we'll try to go till about 2:30, and then we'll cut it off then. So, sound good? Cool. Awesome. So I want to dive into your niche. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, Aldo and I have talked about this, Briddick and I have talked about this. This is what I did when I started out in the business, and that was just hitting the phones all day, every day. It's like the Keller Williams, but hey, it works, right? So it's funny because there's kind of this, would you say there's a stigma on hitting the phones?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into that. Anybody have questions they'd like to ask before I jump into that specific list of questions? Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
These are real good questions. So like, do you sell like a percentage of your gross commission towards your marketing?
Yeah.
You do how much of it?
So if you didn't hear the question, it was if you do, how much percentage of your commission checks do you send or put to marketing, right?
Okay.
So Jasmine and I, we have a business coach, and we literally just asked him this question probably 2 weeks ago because we were just kind of flying in the dust. Like, our business expenses were also our saving expenses, which were also our living expenses, which is really not what you should be doing. And he says he runs a really large team in Virginia. He sells about 300 homes a year on his team. But he says once you take out tax, so I take out 25% for tax, even though it's a lot less at the end of the year. But he says take anywhere between 25 and 30% off and just stick it into your business account. Whether you use that 30, 25, 30%, whatever it could be for you guys. So we take 30% and we stick it into or we keep it in our business account, and then we draw everything else and we bring it into our own personal account. That's how we do it.
Yeah, I don't track it as well as I should. We've got a payroll company, bookkeepers, that every month they send us a profit and loss. And I kind of adjust monthly and see where we're at. It's roughly about 20%, but I'm not as tight as I should be.
I would have to align with you on that. I mean, we have Cooper runs our books, which is awesome, or as he would say, he cooks our books. But no, but more importantly, like I'm not a numbers person. I'm a learned numbers person, so I'm an adapted numbers person and systems person. I had to create that around like my life is chaos, and so I had to create systems around that. Riddick's a lot more. He's being humble about it. He's a lot more organized than I am. But in that regard, we kind of adjust it in that way, where we take a look at last month, see what we spent, because there's some things that are kind of a reoccurring expense, like potentially like PPC ads. And if you guys don't know what that is, you guys probably all should know what that is, but it's just like Google pay-per-click ads. So if you know that you're spending no more than $1,200 a month on that, whatever it is, that's a kind of a reoccurring expense. But there's other things like photography, and that could be something where Mike takes 10 listings 1 month and one listing, like whatever it may be. So, Mike, what about you?
I was brought in the corporate world and learned when we had the business, my brother and I, 23% is the corporate mantra. Don't exceed 23% of your gross for marketing and sales. And we live by that. I don't really track it that closely now, but it's probably very close to that. The most important thing I learned in real estate, often people are too reluctant to invest in a good tool for fear that it's costing too much. Every time I spend $1, I ask myself, am I confident that that expenditure will return? I'll give you one quick example. We do a $7,000 a year calendar campaign. We send out about 4,000 magnetic calendars. We always get at least 3 or 4 listings. Does that pay? Yeah. I don't worry about the percentages. Know that particular act is going to pay. And that's how I treat all my marketing.
Let me add on to that. So in the very beginning, my first year, I hardly spent anything. I was hitting the pavement. I mean, I came from selling cars, so I knew how to walk a lot. So I door knocked, I did open houses, I did everything I could do that was essentially free. But the more you start selling houses and the more money you start making, it's really easy to feel like every dollar spent on your business is one less dollar into your actual account or for your family. So, but you have to remember that every dollar spent, it is an investment. It will benefit you. Now, I'm not saying going and spending $50 here on Facebook and then $100 on Instagram the next week, but you should have some sort of good, I guess, base and calendar of what you're going to spend your marketing on. But we spend a lot of money every month on coaching, and we know that is going to benefit us a lot further than if we were to, spend $1,000 on something else here and there. So.
That's really interesting because I hear it a lot, and I'm not saying I hear it from anybody specifically in this room, but I hear it so much from people in our industry saying, wow, you spend a lot of money, because our team spends a lot of money on a system, or like Mike was saying, or some sort of coaching, or something that we know that we can convert and can get a return. But it's really what they're saying is shifting that mentality from like spending whatever it is you spend on your coach every month and thinking about it as like, oh, that's just a burn in my pocket, to more so as like, this is what I benefit from this, and this is completely priceless, right? You can't put a price on this value that you get from it. Is that right?
Yeah. You really have to start thinking your business. Like people will, yeah, it's your business. You understand. You're like, hey, I have a business, right? I sell real estate. But you have to really grasp that you actually own a business. If you were to start up a cookie shop right now, you're not going to go bake your cookies in the oven and then bring them to your store. You're probably going to have to buy material. You're going to buy machinery to make your cookies. And for us, we know that we have a business and we want to make it bigger and better. And in order to do that, you're going to spend money. And I don't like spending money in life, but when it comes into our business, I like it, I guess.
So when it comes to doing your advertising, do you outsource that? Do you keep it in office? Do you manage it yourself? How do you determine what you advertise, where you advertise, and how much you spend?
That's a great question. Where you advertise, how much you advertise. I think you got to start with who's going to be your target audience. You know, are you going to be advertising to an elderly crowd? Well, then print advertising might make a little bit more sense. Are you advertising to millennials? You're going to be on Instagram.
5-second videos that like have like a bunch of T-Rexes in them.
Yeah.
Figure out what all the kids are. Get your TikTok account.
Yeah.
You know, so I think first of all, establish who's going to be your target demographic, and then work backwards from there. So we do a lot of video, we do a lot of social media. We try to leverage everything that is free. So we use MailChimp. So every single person that we know that we have a relationship with is going to go on a MailChimp, which is free, up to like 2,000 people. So they're going to get our monthly newsletter, which is free. And so for us, I would say the majority of our marketing is digital because we're targeting a demographic that focuses more on digital marketing.
So do you figure out what the actual advertising is in-house, or do you outsource that to developing them?
Right, so right now I've got one full-time assistant who does all the marketing. So we keep it all in-house. At some point that will possibly change, but right now it's all in-house.
And I want to jump on that because really the best possible thing you can do, this is what we're working on, is taking everything in-house, right? I mean, it's great to have these contractors like a photographer, a videographer, or someone that does marketing for you. But the more you can bring that in-house and you can hire and you can grow from within, that's just my opinion. You guys might have different opinions on that, but that's kind of the direction that we're going as far as media goes. So,
you want to focus on, when you're talking about advertising, you want to have a measurable sort of advertising. If you're advertising in a newspaper or if you're advertising on a school bus stop or something, you can't really measure when that or how that business comes. With PPC or Facebook ads or some sort of mailer, you can start tracking and figuring out how much you're spending and how much you're getting in return. And so when it comes to advertising, I would try to highly focus on that. Magazines, sometimes it's hard. I know maybe the traditional way to advertise is going to be in a magazine, but we just don't do those because very rarely they can say, oh yeah, we saw you in a magazine and picked up the phone. So
Alaska Airlines magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even on that note too, there's things that are intangible. There's like we throw an event once a month here and people are like, what's the ROI on that? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. We have an event and people come and just the other day someone was like, hey, I'm ready to buy a house. And I'm like, is it trackable?
Yeah.
No.
If you cast enough nets, it can be challenging to know exactly where somebody comes from. So it's always important to ask the question, to try to source and ask them, hey, how did you find me? Because then it gives you a metric to where you can determine where to spend your marketing dollars.
Someone have a question over here?
When you do like targeted Facebook ads, are you driving that to a sticky landing page?
There's two ways you can do it now, but Facebook now on target landing pages, they actually have a form that auto-populates for you now. So it literally takes your information that you have on Facebook and it plugs it into this page.
And then are you running that to a CRM?
Yes. So we use a program called CR Interactive that funnels everything back to our CRM. So we get everything from there, goes to our website.
Quick question. Does anybody not know what a CRM is? I hope everyone does. Is everyone using some sort of CRM?
No one wants to raise their hand.
Yeah.
Well, that's not until like
I'm not, just because my business isn't at the scope software too, because I'm also doing my own fix and flips with a few clients here and there.
Right.
So
So you
I
have a way of
also-
tracking who you're working with, the pipeline of potential flips. You have a way of tracking that. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
So everybody has a way of tracking that. That's what, so when we say CRM, when you say landing page, it's basically taking all of these different potential nets that we've cast out there and driving it to one place so that when somebody comes in, you guys get a notification.
It's doing what Zillow does at
Yeah.
100 tops. Like you can drive business, and I don't want to pay Zillow.
No,
I
don't pay Zillow.
I don't want to pay Zillow $1. I can do it so much cheaper.
If you guys don't have a CRM and you can afford $100 a month, it's pretty crazy. You shouldn't do that. If you need to have a CRM, whether it's something from your brokerage or a third party, you need to know who you're talking to, when you're talking to them, when you need to talk to them next, what you've done with them, and putting them on some sort of like drip campaign and figuring out when the next time to contact them is. Because if you don't, leads, right, will add up from wherever you get them, from family, friends, open houses. They'll add up and exponentially they'll grow, and you'll start forgetting so much of your business.
Use
So-
Google Sheets, it's free. If you
Yeah.
guys don't have a CRM yet, don't have the money right now, I started out by just putting my contacts in a Google Sheet and using Excel. So if you guys know Excel, just start there.
The car industry that I came from had a CRM, so I knew if the car industry had it, I need to have it in real estate. 'Cause
Yeah.
In Rick's point too, I mean, it's every single one of your clients knows at least 4 or 5 real estate agents. And so if you aren't talking to them on a regular basis, they're talking to another real estate agent. That's a fact. You know?
They're cheating on all of us.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, for those fairly new in the business, do not let the person trying to sell you advertising be a better salesperson than you are selling the property.
Yep.
Because don't let the emotion, suddenly you've signed up for another thing that's gonna change your world,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't work. In terms of farming the marketing out, I've never had ever success in someone else getting in my head, trying to figure out and communicating what I'm thinking. So we do it in-house. And there's never been a better time to track what marketing is working because of CRM ability to know instantly where they came from. Our project at Semiano, we also always remember to ask, where did you hear about us? And we track that.
So you're saying that's scripting, that's part of when someone calls you off a sign and they say, they could have come from one of your 10 nets.
How do you hear about us?
How'd you hear about us?
Yeah, and you're doing two things. You're selling property, but equally, you're selling you. And that changes how we do business too. We're not a retail store, but we're selling our goods. We're selling us as much as we are the individual properties. which
How do you
changes
sell
the
you?
marketing program.
Yeah, tell us more about how do you sell you?
What I found worked best for me, worked really, really well. Right from the get-go is I found an area that I decided I was gonna own. And I was gonna become the expert and the go-to person. So I didn't run around trying to list a house. I ran around, if you will, sharing information about, in our case, Birch Bay Village, where I live. And I got to know those CC&Rs inside out. I joined the clubs, and I just positioned myself. You could be in Tweed 20, you could be in Barclay, you could be the South Side. Take a geographic area, I feel very strongly, own it, but earn it by becoming the most knowledgeable person there. And if a house sells, it doesn't have to be what you sold. Just tell them what sold. Give them, people want data. If you give them the data, you're gonna become, by default, the expert. That's where the radio program, in my case, helped things really take off, because suddenly I was a source for information. If you can be a source for information, Katie, bar the door. You'll
So
be
your
busy, busy,
megaphone
busy.
grew. Your megaphone grew. You took, basically what you're saying is, when you're starting out the business, and that's the reason I asked the question about what the first year was like. Everybody remembers their first year. Some of us are still, like, we're still in our first year, and it's one of those things where you don't have any track record. Your MLS history, your Zillow profile, what people are looking at is a big fat 0 or 1 or 2 or 3, and everybody in this room has gone through it at some point. So you have to understand what Mike's saying is he just leveraged the area that he knew. He became an expert, and he leveraged, like, this is what's selling. It doesn't have to be his sale. It's like, hey, like if I'm going up in Birch Bay Village, which, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed up in Birch Bay Village, but if I'm there, what I'm gonna do is present it.
There's
You know,
a gate.
Yeah. Yeah. All the listings that I show them are new mics, but it's still gonna, I'm just gonna show them the data. That's what he's saying is show the data when you don't have the track record, right? Be the expert. Yeah. It's a really good point. So you guys each you started in one place in your career where you were starting on the phones, you were just hitting the pavement, it sounded like, hitting the pavement. How have your businesses shifted, if at all? Has it shifted with the market? Have these been things that have you've changed about, like have you changed as a person? You decided, man, I really hate making cold calls. I really like doing events and Sphere, whatever it is. Can you guys, Rick, can you maybe talk a little bit about how that's shifted for you?
Yeah, and so one of the things that happens in this business, you treat people well, you do a good job, they're gonna, for one, continue to use you when they decide to sell and buy again, but they're two, gonna send you referrals. And so my business has significantly shifted towards receiving more referrals, which are so much easier to get than picking up the phone and calling a cold web lead or calling to cancel an expired. But I have a shotgun approach. I still do it all. I still don't mind cold calling and calling people. I find that it terrifies me, and if I do it, I can get through that sort of fear threshold, and that it brings me more into the present moment. And so I still don't mind cold calling FSBOs, canceled and expireds. I kind of like it,
Yeah.
web leads. And so, but of course I love getting referrals, and a lot of my business is referrals. But I would say if you look at the nets that I've casted, we've got web leads, we've got Sphere, we've got past clients, we've got referral partners now. If you can find 5 key referral partners, find a good property manager who's going to send you business. Find a good lender. Find a financial planner. Find a good attorney who's going to send you business. Find 5 people who will send you business. It will make your life so much easier.
It's great.
Something you want to do too that we forget to do. Every person you do business with at all, and you do transaction, a simple thing to tell them is how much you appreciate being their realtor. Establish the fact that you're their realtor for the rest of their life. And make sure they understand that's your expectation, and they'll live up to it if you take good care of it. Because a lot of people don't understand, you mean I can actually have like my own consultant, my own financial advisor, I can have my own realtor. We are the financial advisor for real estate, and we should be with them on the entire journey. But sometimes you have to tell them that. Thanks for letting me be your realtor.
Because some people
Never forget to tell them that.
Some people think that everybody's their realtor, right?
We're on salary.
There's probably one person everybody here is working with or thinks they're working with, right? Let's talk about pillars. That's interesting because I think we can sometimes get distracted by the silver bullets, and we get these calls from 50 different people a day saying they're going to make you $1 million on Facebook or whatever it is. But I think what we're talking about is like, you don't want to have like so few that you're kind of pigeonholed into a position where if the market changes and expireds go away, you're not just doing expireds or canceleds, or if you just do Sphere, but you have no like new flow of leads. What we're trying to say is that like, you can have too many. You can have too many pillars, right? And when you have too many pillars, you don't do any one of those really well.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is like making sure maybe you have 3 to 5 pillars. Like what are the pillars of your business? Like, Mike, Briddick, the pillar of all of our business, the biggest one should be our Sphere, right? Realistically, everyone, yeah, it should be. So tell me more about like your pillars. What are your pillars, like your core 3 or 4 sources that you go after? What are your favorites?
My favorites are, well, I like web leads because a web lead, I can track exactly how much I'm spending on web leads and exactly how much I'm making. So I can get an exact return on investment with web leads. So that's definitely going to be one pillar for me. My Sphere is always going to be a significant pillar. We do 2 client appreciation parties every single year. There's lots of other little referrals, but I think getting that referral network, if I can get, if I can be taken out, if I can take out an estate attorney for coffee, or get a new referral partner who's going to send me business, that's a major pillar in my business.
So for new people that are not established yet, what does that look like when you're basically talking to these people that probably know a bunch of other realtors? Are you just going and saying, hey, I want business? Or are you saying, going more from a place of contribution and value and saying and being genuine that you really do like their business and you like them?
Well, I think as a new agent, gain as much knowledge as you possibly can so that you feel like you're competent to do the job well. In the first year in the business, I hadn't sold a house yet, and I called it an expired listing, and I kept calling it. And finally I got through it. It turned out to be the CEO of a company called Altair. and they own Alpha Tech. And I got through, and we got the listing. And it was off of purely just going for it, you know. And I thought I had the knowledge, but it was more just like straight going for it. Had I thought about, like, oh gosh, can I really do this? You know, then I would have stopped. Had I known that it was the CEO of this major company, then I would have stopped. But it's just, you know, have the belief and just go for it. You know, just believe that you can.
Interesting. That's good. Yeah.
It's interesting what you just said. When I first started, we called expireds, and we had a great trainer at that time. She's still around. She's awesome. Denise Lonis. She taught us to ask one question on expireds. Why do you think your house didn't sell? And then shut up and listen. And they'll give you all the cues you need to get closer to getting that listing. But I was calling expireds one day downtown with John L. Scott, and I got the next one. I wasn't paying attention to the price. All I saw was the number expired. Get them on the phone. Oh, and they started listening to me and whatnot. While I'm talking to them, I looked down, and it was listed for like $4.5 million. I thought, oh crap, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But it'd be rude to hang up, so I just kept going. And my third listing, we ended up selling that place for $3.8 million. And I look back at it, just like you said, it doesn't matter, they're just numbers. They're all the people mean the same thing. But asking that question, why do you think your house didn't sell, is not intrusive, it's not pushy, and they're gonna tell you so much. And then you can come back in and say, oh, that's interesting, well, where did they advertise? Here's where we, and just switch what you can do. But most people get persistently called for expireds, are not getting assistance or support. They're getting someone on the other end trying to get into their wallet. That's all they hear. So, and just approach it like, hey, you know, I might not list your house, but here's some ideas. Pretty soon they're coming around.
So it's mindset. Let's talk a little bit about mindset, because what I'm hearing from all of you guys coming from a different industry, jumping into it when you feel the fear of like, this person could potentially reach through the phone somehow and punch me in the face, whatever. And then you're saying that like, you're just coming from contribution, and then just like it sounds like just kind of blocking out the number. The number doesn't matter.
Just a number.
There's just another person on the other end of the line. They had something, they had a need, the need wasn't met, right? And you're coming from a place of contribution. Tell me more about mindset. How does mindset help you with your lead generation?
I think for this business, I mean, it's the best to build a mindset for growth, because we are going to face rejection. We are going to face the times where, you know, we have a past client use somebody else. So being in this business long enough, you are going to be forced to grow. You're going to be forced to grow, and you're going to be forced to develop yourself. And that's one of the best things about this business, is we have to develop ourselves. And a huge part of that is developing our mindset. You know, you can either be in fear or you can be in gratitude. And coming from a place of gratitude, coming from a place of feeling like it's abundant, that it's just coming to me, that there's not a pie and I have to get my slice of the pie, that there's endless pies, is going to filter into how you communicate with your clients. Because you're coming from a place of giving. You're coming from a place of enoughness. It's like you're a well-fed wolf. You know, it's like you don't need me. And so people can feel that energy off you, and coming from a place of gratitude has helped me immensely. I'm not always there. Sometimes I'm in fear. And so it's just where I think I can, you know, where I feel like I've grown is getting better at recognizing when I'm in a state of fear and pulling myself back into gratitude.
Interesting. So what you're saying is that when you're talking to somebody, people can really sense what state of mind and what state of emotion that we're in. So
Tonality is very, very important, right? When you're talking standing or you're sitting, people are going to know whether or not you're confident or if you lack confidence. People can sniff it out over the phone. I'm sure you guys had calls from Zillow or whatever marketing.com that, hey, we get you all these leads, and some of them are pretty good and some of them are not.
Good leads on whatever.
You can feel, people can feel your commission breath. It's like, hey, you want to sell your house? hey, I got to make my rent next month.
I challenge everybody. I'm not going to tell you what to do for your business, but if you haven't picked up the phone and called a random ass person and expired or canceled, or even let alone your own sphere, you should. It is daunting, it is scary, but it is very rewarding. My favorite part about calling expireds was when I called them over and over and over, and then we got the listing, and that was probably my biggest takeaway. When I first started, I was really scared. I called like 2 people in one day, and then I gradually maybe 5 people, and then now I can sit on the phone and dial for a straight hour or 2 hours, but I have things that make it quicker.
So like, I think a lot about silver bullets. I mean, there's a lot of silver bullets in the real estate industry, and I'm just gonna blast Zillow right now, because Zillow is a huge silver bullet, and I think we can all agree that that's a company that is gonna charge us crazy amounts of money for leads, and then they sell our leads to everybody. So when you think about it, when you think about what Aldo and Mike and Britta are all talking about, they're talking about ways to get back to the basics in this business. And we're going to see a shift in the business with iBuyers and with Zillow and with Redfin in the area, which these are all companies that they have. I think we can all agree they all have a place in our industry. I know no one likes to hear that, but there's a place in the bottom of our industry for those companies. But what they're talking about is, as the market shifts, or even when you start out in the business, is like just getting to the basics, right? Don't get distracted by the easy whatever it is that's $300 a lead or whatever it is. Think about the easiest or the most difficult way to do it, right? There's a spectrum. The easiest thing you can do is sit there and collect referrals, but you have to do something between now and getting to that point, right?
Life is pretty basic in that if you want to go out for dinner tonight, you can go to McDonald's, and there's always going to be more McDonald's than any other restaurant. Or you can go to a very successful, profitable steakhouse. You want to be the steakhouse. You might not have all the market share, but if you do a good job, you'll have more than you can handle. That's why the news yesterday about the selling office commission going out, that's an opportunity. That's not a concern. Because it gives you a reason to talk about why you're worth hiring to represent them, all the reasons why. Where a week ago that might not have come up.
So you're talking about presenting your value, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have a huge value. Let's be honest, our value is not finding people homes, right? There's a 50-50 chance someone's gonna find their home online anyways and come to you with it. I've had that happen, and I'm like, okay, I'll have the paperwork. Where our value comes in is guiding from contract to close, right? Getting someone in the door. Like, if I have a bad relationship with Mike, if I haven't built that relationship with Mike, and he sees my offer come in, I don't have any sort of cover letter with my offer, and he knows Julian, and Julian, they have a great relationship, they've worked together before, he writes up a good offer, and he's actually presented who his clients are, Mike's gonna take that offer. I mean, he just knows that's gonna be smoother. So we have to really focus on making that connection, right? Especially as our value proposition with other agents too.
Absolutely, just as important, if not more.
Yeah, it's huge.
JC and Nate had a question back there.
First of all, I just want to say this is awesome to have an opportunity to come together in multi-brokerage and have a great conversation. So thank you for doing this. And with that, I go back to mindset a little bit. You're a spouse that's a partner, a supporting person that's a partner in your business. It's kind of there. But when you're in that place of scarcity and not feeling like you're coming from a place of abundance, and you're in this alone, like most of us are, it can be a pretty deep, scary, dark hole to go down to pull yourself back out of. And this industry's hard. We all work so alone. I just am curious where you guys go to pull yourself back out of there, and how to get that confidence back.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. That's such a good question. And it's going to a lot of networking events, that somewhat shape and form of that question gets asked all the time, and it goes back to your why, right? And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, is a lot of people are going to ask you, why are you doing this? Why are you in business for yourself? Like, what is motivating you? And motivation comes and goes, but drive is what will keep you going. So for me, like, what keeps me going is not like the cars and the fancy clothes, not materialistic. I used to sell cars, so I don't really care for them. Even really nice ones, I just don't care for them. But for me is, I wake up and, we kind of go in through our groove and we figure out what we're doing it for. And for me, we immigrated from Mexico and we live a good life now, but we didn't used to live a good life. So for my why is, I want to make my mom, no, but for me, it's, I want to show her that it was worth it, right? It was worth it that she came over here. So let's go. So, but you gotta find it, and it's tough too. Sometimes I don't always think of that, and like, oh, my mom, and keep me going. But yeah, it's sometimes like in this lull, right? Every year for the last 4 years, I've always had like a week or 3 weeks of just this lull of like, oh my God, like, yeah, like no one's gonna call me, like, oh shit, it's just hitting the fan, and then something happens, and then you got like your motivation. You're like, oh, whoa, I'm back, So yeah, it's always something like that. So.
Yeah, Freddie, what about you?
I would say your question about having a partner too. Sandy, my partner, I mean, she's a real estate agent as well, which is an awesome thing because she understands why. We're on the phone at 9 o'clock. She gets it. She's the same way. And she calls me on my shit if I was stuck in a space of that scarcity fear. She recognizes it immediately and then too, what Aldo said, I think, priming the pump, getting into gratitude, start just by like doing something nice for someone else. Get out of yourself. That is probably the number one way that I can shift from getting out of a bad mindset. Just get out of myself, start to go help somebody, and talk about it.
I think it's just positivity too. Like, how do you wake up? Right? Do you wake up and you go on your phone and look at Instagram and Facebook? You're just consumed by so much BS every single day.
Yeah.
So do you wake up at a good hour? Do you go to bed at a good hour? Do you, like for me, every day in the morning, I go to the gym and then, not every morning, but I do gratitudes and affirmations, right? I write down positive things that I want in my life and I tell myself it's happening now, even though it's not. So how do you start your day? Are you grumpy? Are you happy? Are you thankful? I think is a very big element in everyone's lives.
Gratitudes are huge. Every morning you need to start off that way, just like Aldo was saying. The other thing that I think is really cool that I love, because the material stuff is fine, but that wears thin after a while, is being able to get someone to, sounds corny, but to realize the American dream, particularly first-time home buyer, and to say in that difficult transaction, I got accomplished with and for them what maybe the next 99 agents never would have made the finish line, and take pride and feel good about the fact that if it was easy, everyone would do it, that I'll make 15 bucks an hour and off you go. It's supposed to be hard, this business. And if you can meet those really tough situations, that's why we do this. That's why we shouldn't want to do this. So not for the easy ones.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that there's a spectrum of like basically the transaction, because we have a duty to complete the transaction competently, right? And then there's the relationship. And sometimes, have you guys ever felt like you've gotten sucked so far into like you feel transactional almost? You get a bunch of pendings, and you're like, I need another one, I need another one, I need another one, I need another one. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Like I don't feel connected to these people, which this is what we're doing, it's relational business, right? Tell me a little bit more about, so you're saying, how do you pull yourself back into thinking of that as a relational business?
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time for me. I get stuck in sort of the ego mindset of more systems here, more this, more that. Actively pulling myself back into things that are important. My relationships. It's recovery work for me. As a recovering alcoholic, pulling myself back into that work grounds me towards what's important in life. So for me, it's pulling myself out of that actively, continuously pulling myself back into the big picture stuff. Spending time with my folks. They're not going to be here forever, and remembering that. And when I remember that, I'm pulled back into what's truly important. And when I'm pulled back into what's truly important, I can then take that mindset and that that just care and give it back to my clients, as opposed to just looking at them as a transaction. And it's a constant thing of pulling myself back. And it's that taking that myopic gaze and broadening it towards what's really important.
That's awesome. That was a really good question, by the way. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, just one more real quick. I like and I love motivational YouTube videos. I don't know if any of you guys do, but I love motivational videos on YouTube. Podcasts and stuff are good, but I'm more of a visual guy. That starts to pull me out of that funk, that like, oh, feeling sorry for yourself feeling. Another really good technique that we use is this is more transactional wise, is sometimes we feel like we don't have anything going when in reality you do. And if you just sit down and write down and visualize everything you've done so far, and then things that you have going, and then potential future transactions that you will have. If you start going through your CRM, which you should all have by tomorrow, and figure out who's gonna actually buy and sell, it makes you feel really good, because you may have sold 3 houses this year, but then you know that, I don't know, your mom and your aunt and your neighbor are gonna actually sell this coming quarter, so it kind of helps you actually realize that you do have stuff going on. So,
A little trick for the tough ones,
Yeah.
because there's gonna be many times you think, oh gosh, I can't handle this business, this is so frustrating. Don't do it for you. On the really tough ones, I've been doing this for years, and it sounds though I'm giving, I'm actually selfish in doing this. If you got a really tough transaction, you're halfway through it, the inspections come back, this is going wrong, that's going wrong. Attach to it a charity you're gonna donate to at the end. And you'll work harder to get over the finish line, because now it's not for you. Obviously you want to be for the client, but if you have this third party depending on you, it'll give you a motivation to get over that finish line. And then when you do it, there's much more gratitude in doing
That's
it.
awesome.
And the word I have taped to my computer, best client ever told me one time when I asked him, how do you get so successful? I said, oh, that's easy. Tenacity. One word, tenacity. Live by it.
So that was, I didn't intend for this to go into mindset, but I think it's so important for the lead generation, topic. And one of the things I just want to, like, as we're wrapping up here, I really want to talk, first of all, I want to thank you guys for being here, but I want to talk a little bit about your recommendations. So you guys talk a little bit about YouTube videos, about podcasts. For lead generation, what's your best tech tool or your non-tech tool? What's your best tool? Because we all need tools, whether they're, the CRM or they're the, hammer, whatever it is. We need some sort of tool to help us, almost become, a super version of ourselves, right? Can you guys tell me about some of your recommendations for everybody here for lead generation tools or anything that you guys utilize to harness that business?
I mean, I think the first thing is a CRM. It's got to be your foundation. And it could be super simple. I mean, you don't have to go and create the most complex system for how you're going to connect with your people. So I use Contactually. It's great. It's very visually pleasing to me, and I can organize my past clients and investors and everyone, and it will remind me when to follow up with them, and I can do bomb emails. It syncs to, it's got open APIs, so it syncs to MailChimp and everything else. So I use Contactually.
Cool.
Yeah, when it comes to CRMs, you guys can talk to us and we can always share that. I've used so many CRMs in the past that I finally have one. But mine would be Facebook, social media. We are coached by a guy in Virginia, and he is probably 50 years old. In the very first meeting, he was talking to us about social media and was grinding us about Facebook and being on there, and that he pulled our page up, and the last time we posted was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we're like, okay, what's wrong with that? He's like, well, you're a secret agent. And so what he has us doing now is posting 6 times a week, 3 personal and 3 business. And so you share it from your business page onto your personal page. And we're doing 3 videos a week, right? 1 live video and 2 educational videos each. So between Jasmine and I, we're doing a lot, whatever that is. 6. But Facebook loves interacting and loves that you're gonna be on there. And what we also do every day from 11 to 11:30, we're on social media for 30 minutes. So we go on there, we look at whoever is on there, and we start commenting on people's posts. And we only do 10, or else you go to Facebook jail. So don't do more than 10 a day, or else you'll actually get kicked off if you do too much. But you comment on there, you start interacting with people. When you start posting things, make sure to start actually replying to their comments and interacting with them that way. But one thing about measurable advertising is one thing you won't be able to measure is the fact when people will start kind of randomly messaging you on Facebook and say, hey, I'm thinking of buying a house, I don't know where to go, but I thought of you. And you don't really know where that's coming from, but it starts to dawn on you that it's because you were and you are on social media. A lot of you probably don't want to be on social media a lot, but our coach told us if you love fishing and you're about to buy a fishing pole and you look somebody up on Facebook and one, you can see everything about them, and one that you don't see anything about them, you're most likely going to buy that fishing pole from somebody that you already see that's a real life person. So I would say social media.
To expand on that, so I'm new to the business, I come from aerospace, but Canva is a free app.
Yeah.
You should write that down, Canva,
Canva's great, yeah.
and just spin it to real estate.
Oh, I'm gonna write it down.
I do like 4 or 5 a week,
Yeah.
and they're pre-made for you, and just spin it to real estate. And so I don't really promote it to my sphere yet, because I'm trying to figure out real estate, but I've done those, and I get like 10 people texting me, oh, you're in real estate now? I want to look at this.
Yeah. You guys should be doing videos. I recommend to do videos.
I have a question for you. So with your videos, do you guys pre-plan what you're going to be talking about and do all your videos at once? And then span them out?
No, not that organized. No, okay, yeah. Okay, no, we need to though, because now we are going to put in our calendar that one day out of the month, maybe 2 days, you just do all your video content, all of us.
Bring like 10 shirts to the office?
Yeah, you just bring 10 shirts. Yeah.
One thing I do is like if I just talk to a client on the phone and they just ask me a question like, when am I gonna get my keys? Right? Like things like that, then I will literally just like press the record button on my phone and record a video. Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
To just like get it done.
What's fresh?
And then,
Yeah.
fresh and then post it.
There's
It's not even
so
like it's just people I overthought it too much and it's really hard and you just can't overthink it, honestly.
there is so much content that you can produce on a real estate transaction besides your inspection contingency. What is that? What happens after the appraisal? Yeah, all the major stuff. Like I did one on light bulbs 2 weeks ago, and I had we were listing a house. Like, hey, we watched your house on light bulbs, and we're going to change all our light bulbs. And we're like, oh, awesome! I'm glad someone's watching. But yeah, you can produce so much. You can use your iPhone to start with. I have a Canon camera that I'm just kind of nerdy, so I want to edit it and make cool colors and graphics and all that stuff. But you don't have to. Just hold your phone and start recording. You're gonna probably do about 20 to 30 takes your very first video, but that's okay.
So on the topic of social media, I think it's kind of like it's either flip or flop. People are either like way into it or like way against it, and there's nothing wrong with either direction, but we're heading in the direction where social media is really, really important for branding and really, really important for, like you said, the person that said, hey, I saw you were telling me that I changed my light bulbs, I want to sell my house. You're like, oh, that was a really trivial video, but cool. One of the things, just on the flip side, we have a content calendar. So we've thought about what all of our channels are. Of like, you're building a relationship with people that are in your network, right? It's a free way of doing that. So just a side note on that. On the flip side, we're planning it out. We're trying to think about like what are our channels? Who are we, right? Because when you're on social media, sometimes people project someone that they're not, and that's when it turns people off, I think. So when someone meets you in person and you're the same as you are on social media, I think that that congruency is really important. So that's kind of what we sat down and talked about when it came down to what were our channels. How do we want to connect with people? Is it like me swearing in the office, or me doing something stupid, or like me, whatever it is, or an inspector, or who are the people that are around us? That's who people want to connect with, right? Just like you said.
Nate, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm hoping this maybe leads into what Mike said already, but in addition to the SEO and PPC and all the other like $1 million acronyms, there's a lot of traditional marketing opportunities, grocery carts, billboards, Bellingham athletics, programs, things like that. What do you think that how do you think those benefit your businesses the most? And how do you decide what to get into each individual market?
In my case, it's kind of interesting listening about social media, which we do, Instagram and Facebook and all that. Years ago on the radio, it's just a different conduit to get information out there. And your videos are amazing. She's slightly better. But to answer your question, there's lots of ways you can project information. And the ones that are most effective cost the least. That's what I've learned over time. Be it Facebook, be it write a article for your neighborhood newsletter. If you're in Ferndale, why isn't someone writing an article on real estate and giving it to the Ferndale Record Journal? Why can't I pick up an article in the Linden Tribune every week? There's lots of examples. You can get the information out there. It doesn't cost one thin dime and is worth so much more than the advertising. I'm guilty of spending way too much on advertising by creating visibility, but what turns most business back my direction is when I give advice through earned media, which is free. And you guys all have expertise, and if you don't, there's this thing out there called Google. You can be an expert like that. 9 out of 10 shows I do on Saturday, I produce an hour before I get in the car to go to the show. The information's out there.
That's tough for me. I like numbers. Our coach, anything we do and we're to spend money on, we have to run it through our coach first. And if he tells us no, we don't do it. If he tells us yes, then we do it. But if you're going to be spending money, I would advise with maybe I would say maybe your colleagues. I mean, shoot, I've tested so much stuff out in the last 4 years that I probably know what you're probably going to advertise in or invest in. So I don't know, let me know, ask me about it, and I'll let you know. Like right now, we know that doing PPC, Google Ads, for every $1,000 we spend, or for every 100 leads we should close right now our first year, probably one house. So 1,200 leads, let's say we close 12 houses, we'll probably end up spending, I don't know, 15 to 20 grand, but if we do it right, we should be making $80,000 to $100,000. So it's up to you what your level of risk is and what your level of outcome that you want back. So,
and what you're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like something,
don't do it.
If Mike didn't like the radio,
Yeah.
I'd be like, why are you on the radio, man? So, yeah, kind of a combination of what you like.
If you don't want to call, don't call. But you got to figure out how to expand your business, because your sphere is not going to make your business grow. It's going to do it to a point, but then from there, it's just going to be stagnant. You may live a good life and sell 40, 50 homes a year, but for me, I want to sell 100 plus homes a year, and that may not happen just with Sphere. So,
looking out in this room, if I walked in here and didn't know what this was about, I wouldn't know any of you were realtors, except Riddick. And those who have logos and whatnot, you should wear proudly who you are every day of the week. So when you're in the aisle at Hagen, someone says, "Oh, you're a realtor. I have a question."
This is $8.
Inexpensive.
This is $8 at Bellingham Embroidery.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the really cool things that Riddick did is took clothes, like if you guys took all the clothes that you're already wearing and you just take, like, this is probably really comfortable, already pick something you really like, just put his logo on there and you're done. You got hats in the back, with bellwether. I mean, it's just, Windermere, it's so simple. Just taking the time and like, we have like $10 t-shirts and like $20 polos. Like,
unless you're in a nudist colony, there's no reason.
Yeah, tattoos, right? Tattoos.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck. Yeah. Cool. Any final questions before we wrap this up?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Margaret. I'm on the News team. I'm the team's senior specialist. And so I'm really, I'm focused on a very different demographic, an older demographic that doesn't necessarily.
Yes, looking at you, Mike.
So from each of you, one really quick answer. How would you reach an older, much older generation?
Information in print.
Print.
Yep. Newspaper. Article. Free.
I'd probably do target audience on Facebook. I don't know if you can do it. We have a third party that does it for us, but you can target 55 plus. I love old people. People look at me and they think I'm like a grandchild, even though I'm not that young, I guess. But so I love old people. But Facebook, I would try the 50 plus and reach out to them that way.
or even target maybe kids of the estate, maybe looking for people that are looking on behalf of their parents, or that would be kind of where I would start.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, that rule has changed.
Yeah.
Facebook will not allow you to target an audience like that.
Yeah.
It's not age anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, we have people do it for us, so I just believe that changed a little bit.
You have to target keyword based on things they may like, such as old cats.
Single family homes.
Yeah.
You could target that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cat lady.
Cat posts.
Cat post. Great. What are you doing?
Door knocking, they're always home.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's good. Kirsten can print you off a list of homes that people have owned their house for 15 plus years, 25 plus years, and you literally just park somewhere and just start door knocking them. And then they won't know that you're specifically targeting them. I mean, it's a really good idea.
And then Prospect Now will actually rate her list on most likely to sell. So run her list through Prospect
That's also
Now.
a come talk to me.
It's $99 a month to get 3 or 4 listings.
Yeah.
Because it rates her list on most likely to sell using about 10 different criteria.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so I'd like everyone just to give it up for these guys for. So thank you for volunteering to be part of this. We appreciate every single one of you guys. We're going to be doing this every quarter, and I'm going to throw it in the hub so we can vote on it, so we can start, say pick team building next month, or hiring your first assistant, or whatever it is. I'm going to throw some topics out there, and I want it to be really inclusive of everybody's desires to learn, and then we'll vote on it, and then we'll start. I'll start going after it. I'll start cold calling all these these agents to make sure that we can keep providing value to this group. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, and then let's get out of here.
Leo's buying the first beer, by the way.
Thanks, guys.